right, the December 10. So this is day 1 of the December 10. And I really wanted to showcase, I guess, a little bit about, my story is long, big, like everyone's got a story, right? And I thought, how can I break my story down and actually simply share how each part of my story has become integral to who I am and my purpose and where I want to go in life. Even at my later age, you might say it's a bit late to be starting a career in training and public speaking, etc. However, age is only a number, isn't it? So the first day of the December 10 is dropout to dedicated. Now, what I'm talking about there is, from my perspective, where I started anyway, I didn't finish year 10. So I only got I got halfway through high school here in Australia. And I can say that because of my situation at the time, I made decisions that were going to be what I thought would be best for my survival in that environment. And I dropped out of school. At the time, I wasn't even living at home. I was a street kid. So continuing to go to school was something really quite difficult when you don't even know where you're sleeping that night. So, at the time, yes, something had to give. And so school was what it was for me. And that was really difficult to do actually at the time, because school was one of the only places where I felt safe. Even on the toughest days, there were people there that, actually gave a shit. There were some really good teachers that I had the pleasure of being taught by at school. And, it was safe, it was covered, and most of the time I could swindle a meal. So I was getting fed, and I think I've always loved learning as well. However, as I said, something had to give because I was living on the streets at the time, and, trying to upkeep that and appearances as well was really quite difficult. So I gave up on school, traditional school. Now, as I've moved through life, I continually seek to learn. And I realized how much I was learning simply from my interactions with people. When I started to look at how people behave, not so much ask myself why or ask them why, really get curious about different people's lives and how they end up at certain places in life, And that got me obviously thinking about myself. How did I end up in the various spots that I found myself in, which I talk about over the next 10 days? How did I end up there? And this led me to become a real scholar of life, I guess, a student of life. I really wanted to find out how it is that I am like I am. And eventually that led me to being curious about other people and how they are like they are and why they do what they do, etc. So for me, it was about finding the educational platform that made the most sense to me and actually clicked into place and gave me answers, because not all forms of education do that. And certainly mainstream education was not really my cup of tea at the time. And it's not for a lot of kids that I'm seeing. So when I developed TalkTrain as a training company, the type of training that I wanted to deliver was taking those complex things that deep down a lot of us want to know about, and yet we have these limited beliefs that we're not going to be able to understand it, we're not smart enough, when actually it's nothing to do with our intelligence and much more to do with the curriculum and the platform on how it's delivered. What language is being used? Is it being made overly complex because that's how the person who wrote it thinks? You know? So I became really passionate, and looking back through my life, when I develop courses and when I deliver them, I make them, how would I like to learn that? And take really complex stuff, simplify it, make it tangible, and make it enjoyable. Because that's what I wanted. I always wanted to learn things that I could walk away having A, understood it, and B, be able to use it. Otherwise, what's the point? I've just wasted my time. So that's how I took things that I've learned, my education, all that sort of stuff, how I took it from being, you know, a bit of a shitstorm to being something really, really powerful and empowering. And that's going to be sort of the theme over the next 9 days, is how I took things that were not so flash about my past and turned them around to make them something really powerful for me, and the intention is for others as well. So I look forward to having you tune in on the rest of the days. I'd love to hear your comments on today and how you found it, and what your own thoughts on education and how we can turn education into something that's really powerful for an individual. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.